All right, welcome into the Week 13 Countdown Show, the last one of the regular season for fantasy football. Obviously, the regular season for actual football will continue on past this date. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale, Frankie Santiago. We're going to be breaking down this Week 13 slate for you, the oh-so-important Week 13 slate. I know for our home league, and I'm sure for many of you out there, this is a real touch and go week. I know in our league we have potentially 6 swing teams, 3 teams in the playoffs, including you, Vitale, and 3 teams not in the playoffs, all who could swing in and swing out this week. So this is a chaotic week.
I am happy to be that guy up top.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm glad that our league smartened up and decided to go with points for as being a tiebreaker, seeing how just losing that one random match off where someone just goes off against you, causing you to lose out of the playoffs even though you've been playing well all season is real crushing. So it incentivizes you to play to your best ability every week, and it makes you not want to just like sit people to prevent you from losing. It's like, well, he could fumble and lose me 4 points, or like.
Well, you should have rules against that anyway. You know, starting full lineups shouldn't be a novel concept. I do want to do a quick PSA before we jump into the news for the episode. And before we actually, let's show off the beer first before you guys start sipping. So, what's our beer of the week this week, Vitale? It was your turn.
Well, I went nice and plain, a lager instead of the lawn clippings that I've been getting abused with lately. A nice Narragansett.
It tastes like beer.
The Rhode Island favorite.
Beer. That's what I want. I want beer flavor.
You know, that actually used to exist. There used to be, when my dad was in college, there was a can they sold at grocery stores. It was generic beer. It was a white can, black label. It just said beer on it.
Oh, that sounds like where I want to be. that's that. I almost bought today. I went to the grocery store to buy this, but Massachusetts, you can't buy beer in a grocery store for some random reason. But I went in there and I saw those cans of pumpkin pie, just this pumpkin pie with a white label and a picture of the pumpkin pie.
Yep.
I'm like, no company label, no nothing. Just I'm like, I kind of want to buy it. Like it just
to see what it's like.
Just it's so plain. I'm not even a huge fan of pumpkin pie.
So, before we jump into the news, I'm just going to do a quick PSA. As you guys know, every year in our league, once people get eliminated from contention, we put down a home rule that no more ad drops can be made from teams that are no longer actually playing for something. Honestly, it's not a super common concept in the fantasy community, so I want to reach out to you guys, our viewers, the fantasy community. If you're in a league that doesn't do that, talk to your commissioner about it now, and make sure that gets out there, because it's the way I see it is basically akin to collusion. If you have people that are not competing for something, that are going out and using waiver priority, especially if it's a waiver priority league and not a fab dollar league. Going out there and using, spending fab dollars, they don't care anymore. Just blowing, maybe they saved up and they're blowing you out of the water for absolutely just to screw you over, or they're using waiver priority to take like a good streaming defense or a good streaming quarterback. Like that could actually decide a matchup in a lot of cases. It's a waste of competitive balance in the way I see it. You should be talking to your commissioners, or if you are the commissioner, you should think about this. When that week 13 hits, maybe you don't have everyone playing. Maybe you don't have a consolation bracket and you just have 6 or 8 playoff spots. People that are out of commission, put a block on their teams. I know NFL has it. I believe Yahoo has it. ESPN probably has a way for it too, where you can lock certain rosters. Lock rosters that are out of contention, so you don't have to deal with the headache. And then you can have the most honest and competitive environment that you can have available to you. So. I know you. Do you guys either have a consenting or a dissenting opinion on that, or
I consent to that.
Any dissenting opinions? Are you guys both in that camp?
I think there's only one excuse for a team that's out to add anybody, and that's if you and somebody else who are out. So maybe you have a losers bracket, but it's only the bottom 4. So those middle 2 teams just are out.
Yeah.
So you're saved from the bottom bracket playoff, but you're out. Maybe you and the guy who's like, you want to just do a bet or a wager. Like something fun where you're just like, all right, you're like, all right, I'll start the Jags against like Green Bay.
So play on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Then you can actually throw a wager on it. Sure, DraftKings will take a cut or 10% or whatever their house cut is, but No. If you are a team that is out of contention, you should not be adding or dropping players because that changes the balance of the teams that are still in contention. That is my firm stance on that. And I will die on that hill. Let's jump into the news. We do have a good bit before we start breaking down the slate. Brandon Ayouk, non-injury, full practice today. I believe he was on the COVID list. He's back and doing Brandon Ayouk things. Kyler also full practice today. He had that AC joint sprain a few weeks ago, but he was able to log a full practice. He is, looking like he's past that shoulder injury, so that's good. His top pass catcher, DeAndre Hopkins, also non-injury full practice today. Josh Jacobs, ankle, DNP. He did sprain his ankle last week. He's expected to be able to play this weekend, so they might just be giving him the week off. But a DNP on Thursday is something to keep an eye on. Ideally, you want to see him at least log a limited practice tomorrow to, make you feel all nice and cozy that he's going to go. But I expect him to probably end up being a game time decision. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, illness, DNP, should be ready to go for Sunday. Jerry Jeudy, ankle, limited. And his teammate, Philip Lindsay, knee, limited. Last I saw, they were both expected to be able to play this weekend, but Philip Lindsay was the one that was a little more touch and go there of the two of them. So if you're relying on him, he's at least one to keep an eye on. Jumping over to the Saints, Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, both limited this week. Thomas with an ankle, Kamara with a foot. Of the two of them, I'd be more worried about Kamara, but I expect both of them to play. But, Thomas's injury, this is still his ankle from week 2, and he's just still coming back from it. So they're still tagging, whereas Kamara's is a little bit more fresh. DJ Chark was limited today with ribs. They said he has a chance to play this week, so he's probably going to be another game time decision. I know you're talking about him later, but he's one to keep an eye on because he does have a really good matchup this week if he plays. Dalvin Cook, another guy with a really good matchup who was limited today with an ankle. He's expected to play this weekend. And then this one is the one I saved for last. It's a kind of a scary one, honestly. Deandre Swift missed practice today with an illness or concussion, maybe? Adrian Peterson was talking to reporters, and he was saying that it's been hard to watch Deandre Swift recover from this concussion. That he hasn't been himself since the injury, and that he is still suffering from a lack of energy. Now, he's been cleared by concussion doctors and everything, but it seems like this, if you're taking Adrian Peterson at his word, it seems like this concussion could still be affecting him, weeks after it happened. Are you guys worried about him at all? Given the, if it was taken in a vacuum, no Adrian Peterson comments, I'd be like, yeah, it's just an illness. But Peterson saying that along with the illness, I am starting to get a little worried about the star rookie DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried, especially from those comments right there. Like, he's someone who should be close to Swift, within practices. So
yeah.
He's getting up close and personal with seeing how he's doing. I am surprised to hear that if he's dealing with it this much, where he's missing practices, that he was cleared. Like, maybe it's something that it's intermittent, or maybe it's something that's not as clear for doctors to see, but
maybe he's just hiding the symptoms, and he's like, no, I just got the flu.
Yeah, I mean, just with how stringent the NFL's been lately, with all the concussion, CTE stuff that's been popping up in the news, and
it also wouldn't be new for the Lions to just be hiding a concussion. Maybe like if Swift could fool the doctors, and he's telling his coaches that he's good to go. I'm not outwardly saying the Lions are hiding, but we've seen NFL teams do that in the past.
I tend to not think that way, especially right after changing head coaches and stuff like that. Like, you figure you come in fresh, try and right the ship and get everyone going on a set schedule. Like, try to tinker and do stuff like this, especially in a season where you're clearly not shooting for the moon here.
Yeah,
you want to keep the healthier players at the forefront. So I don't know. Hopefully he gets over this soon. It is just an illness.
Do you pick up Adrian Peterson or Kerryon Johnson with waivers this week to just have him on your team in case Swift isn't able to go this weekend?
I think that me personally, if I have room on my team, throw
they're getting the Bears, so it's not like it's a great matchup.
Throw cheap money at Adrian Peterson, maybe.
Keep in mind, the interim head coach over there did say that they want to increase their speed of play. He feels like that's been an issue with them this season. So that could mean more throwing and them switching over to Kerryon if Deandre Swift's unable to go. Adrian Peterson is many things, but at this point in his career, a fast pace of play player is not one of them.
Yeah, honestly, Carry-On's the guy I'm a little more interested in being the Carry-On truther here, but also I feel like a lot of his woes could have been tied to Patricia, so if Swift's having trouble staying on the field and they want to pick up the pace of play, I think that you have to, especially with the playoffs right around the corner, and missing one player and not having a good start could cost you the whole thing. Go pick him up. There's no reason. If you've got the open slot, pick him up, put him on your bench, let him sit through this matchup, see what that Lions do with the new coaching.
Yeah. Although, as a Kenny Golladay manager, I am thrilled to hear they want to pick up the pace of play. Kenny Golladay is awesome when he's on the field. If they want to throw him more than 5 balls a game, I am all for that. All right. Well, that's all the news I got here. Do you guys have anything that? Actually, I'm sorry. I do. Speaking of Kenny Golladay was once again a DNP today, so he is someone whose week 13 is in question.
Well, I mean, I would be remiss as the one who wears his jersey quite regularly to not mention it, but Josh Gordon.
Oh, that's barely news.
That is not barely news. Josh Gordon is
He's
back
800 years old. It feels like that.
It feels like that. He is not. That guy is always in phenomenal shape. It's always been his off the field issues that have held him back. I'm at least happy about it. I hope, every time I'll always hope that it finally sticks and he can show out because the kid has talent. The kid has.
I don't think he's a kid anymore.
I keep saying it. He's only played
he's a kid in NFL years maybe, but
no, he's coming back in week 16, so he has basically no relevance for fantasy owners unless some miraculous set of injuries happen.
Yeah, I think you need at least Tyler Lockett to get hurt or DK Metcalf to get hurt for Josh Gordon to have any fantasy relevance. Yeah, he's 29, so he's getting up there for wide receivers.
Yeah,
I will give you that. I will give you the in shape that you could pay me to get in shape and give me a year with nothing else to do, and I would still not be able to come anywhere close to the shape that guy is in. Jesus.
Yeah, he is. He's always just been one of those players that just it's hard not to like him. He's just so talented.
Yeah.
He led the league in receiving on the Browns when the Browns sucked.
Yeah, he's pretty good at football. All right, you guys ready to dive into the slate here? We got a doozy of a first matchup. So no Thursday game this week because we had a Wednesday game. So can you guys believe they moved the Thursday game? No, they moved it up a day. God, I hate the NFL. They should just postpone that game. So, we're starting off with the 1 p.m. slate, and this is a hot matchup. We're starting off with, in one corner, we have the Las Vegas Raiders flying out to the Meadowlands to face off against the New York Jets. 46.5 point total. The Jets are only 8.5 point underdogs.
You joke, but I'm I feel like that's a slight at the Raiders who deserve it, but it's a slight.
I mean, did you see them play last week?
Only a bit, but that bit was not good.
Josh Jacobs got hurt in I think the third quarter, and it was already so out of hand that the actual reporting for the game was that they were just like, oh yeah, no, it's not worth it to put him back in. It was abysmal. It was so bad.
I just had that.
Good thing none of us had Derek Carr as one of our starts of the week, right?
Yeah, definitely. Great. No one did that. Mm-hmm.
I'm just glad for my own sake that I had Carr on my bench. All the smoke signs were there that he should have been a good play last week.
Hey, remember what I told you? You never want to stream Carr.
I just don't ever play Carr. I don't want him anymore. He came out hot in his rookie season when we had the AC/DC connection, and he's just a whatever guy. I honestly at this point, I think if they don't go looking for a quarterback, I don't know what will cause them to.
I think he's okay for not even good. Just I think he's okay for actual football. He's useless for fantasy, but for the system Gruden wants to run, I don't think Carr is bad. It just puts a lot of weight on Josh Jacobs and Devonta Booker's shoulders because they need to run the ball a lot and run healthily.
Right, but he's okay to the point of it being a detriment. When I look at Carr, he's
very not sexy.
There's nothing. There's so many other options I'd rather go with. With this upcoming offseason, Cam Newton and Ryan Fitzpatrick are both going to be free agents. I'd rather have both of them.
I'd rather have Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I'd rather gamble.
We saw this year what Cam Newton is. There is no gambling on him.
But can you really say it's better than it's not? It's not.
Yes, I'd rather have Derek Carr than Cam Newton.
I'd rather gamble on Cam.
Well, as far as gambling on Cam, you won't be able to in this matchup. But are there any players you are gambling on in this matchup? Obviously, you're playing the running backs against the Jets. It's a fantastic matchup. You're playing Darren Waller. You never sit him. And I mean this with all my heart. I don't think there's anyone else in this matchup you can play.
Maybe. And this is.
If you try to tell me that Derek Carr is streamable in this matchup.
No. He lost that when in a juicy matchup when you can't even get 1 point, you're dead to me.
I was looking something up.
Denzel Mims is the only one I think I would consider starting here just because he's been playing better.
You would start Denzel Mims in redraft.
Like if I needed a flex,
You could talk me into it in daily. If I'm firing up DraftKings and I need a cheapo receiver, sure. Actually, I haven't even looked. What is Denzel Mims this week? I'm checking that right now.
Same. Like I said, it is a dart throw.
Yeah, I mean 3,500. You could
do worse. Maybe Crowder in dailies. That's pretty much.
Oh wait, no. Why is hold on? My DraftKings is showing me the prices from last week.
Yeah, I gotta relog in as well. But
I relogged in. It's just still showing me prices from last week. Bear with me. Technical difficulties.
Mims is 4,100.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, not in on him.
Oh, Crowder's pricey too. Crowder's 5,100.
Yeah, I'd rather pay up to 4,700. Who's one of my money picks of the week this week for T Higgins. Yeah, I'm not touching anyone in this one. This is too expensive of a matchup on DraftKings, and it's just ugly in redraft. Like I said, it's Josh Jacobs, it's Booker if you need him, and it's Waller, and that's the end of the list for me. Cincinnati Bengals, Miami Dolphins. This one should be much more fantasy relevant. Lower total, though. 42.5 over-under. Dolphins are 11.5-point favorites at home. I like most of my Dolphins in this one. No, not my Dolphins, but...
My Dolphins.
I don't actually have many shares of Dolphins this season, but I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is once again a great streaming option this week.
if he's the one starting.
If he is the one starting, yes. I'm less in on Tua if Tua is the one starting. But Ryan Fitzpatrick definitely would stream him. Devonta Parker is fine. He had a good week last week with Fitzpatrick being back. I could see that continuing this week. Gesicki is a tight end who gets targets, so you start him. Is Breda in it at running back this week, or who is in for the Dolphins this week at running back? I think
was Gaskin back last week?
Gaskin is not back. He is still on IR. As a Gaskin owner.
Yes, Gaskin is still on ours. I believe. I assume it'd be Breda now.
He was.
Because Salvon Ahmed also was hurt.
Breda was out there last week.
So I guess I'd start Breda against the Bengals. Just he's at home. He's heavily favored. He should get some run in this one. Cincinnati side of the ball, it's basically just T. Higgins for me, honestly. I mean, I'll start Gio.
I'll start Boyd and Higgins, and then that's it.
So last week we got to see a look at what the Bengals are going to look like without Burrow, and Boyd, honestly, like Higgins was the receiver who got the most run last week. I'll start Boyd if I need to. I mean, there are a good amount of teams on buys this week and teams that you might have been relying on, like the Panthers. I'll start Boyd if I have to this week, but I talked about it when the injury happened. I was down on a lot of Bengals. I don't believe that this current Bengals team without Burrow can support two wide receivers. And based on what they did last week, it looks like the receiver to support is going to be Higgins.
I can't take it off of just one game, just because we saw to start this year. Boyd was nothing when the year started, and we were like, I guess they just don't want to use Boyd, and then slowly he just worked his way back in. I could just see it being finding a new scheme. He is a volume guy that I feel like they have good success with regardless of quarterback. So they're going to try and figure if they're not getting anything done. I feel like they're just going to find a way to get him some targets. I don't think it's going to hurt Higgins. I think it's just both of their ceilings are lower due to the quality of target. And I think both of them are just low-end, threes and flexes for me. I'm not excited to start either of them, especially against Miami's defense. And with a low total like this, I'm not hoping for much, but I'm willing to roll them out.
Frankie, what about you? I'm Higgins only. Vitaly's Higgins or Boyd.
I would say Higgins looked better last week based on what I saw. I mean, again, the one I'm kind of
basically even target split too.
I'm kind of on both sides of it, where I don't think that the one game is enough to go off of, but also I don't feel comfortable starting him having only seen that one game.
Sadly, we don't have a lot of time left to build a sample size here.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this. I've already stated that I'm pro Higgins, down on Boyd, not starting him unless I am forced to start him. With it, let's say that you guys are missing Robbie Anderson this week, or you are missing DJ Moore this week, and Boyd is your other option. Or maybe you have a streaming option on your bench, like a Nelson Aguilar or a Denzel Mims. Are you guys, with potentially the season on the line, trusting Boyd this week? Keep in mind, it is week 13. This isn't just a throwaway week in the middle of the season. If you put Boyd in there this week, especially if you're a bubble team, that's a statement that you trust Boyd to get you into the playoffs or keep you in the playoffs.
I mean, if it's between somebody like Aguilar and Mims, I might just roll him out there because, I don't know, I'd play him over Aguilar. Mims has looked decent in that offense lately, being the Jets.
What about Jacoby Myers?
They have the Chargers this week.
I got one more after that.
I'd still probably take Boyd over Myers, and I would take him over Higgins. I'd take Boyd over Myers. I'd take him over Mims. I would take him over Aguilar.
What about Corey Davis? Plays Cleveland this week. He's been involved in the Tennessee offense.
Not even close. I'm taking Davis there all day.
Okay. I would start all of them over Boyd. So.
Davis is probably my line. You can talk me into either side of it. Davis is probably. I'll just lean Davis because I think there's more points there to be had.
Sure.
So he has a better chance of sneaking you a touchdown.
Well, speaking of Corey Davis, our next matchup is finally a good one. Titans are 5.5-point favorites in this one. 53.5-point total. Cleveland Browns are zipping on down to Tennessee. This one is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, is this the highest point total? It is the highest point total of the week. I think
It doesn't surprise me at all. The Titans look awesome.
Yeah, the Titans look.
And the Browns are 8-3. I forgot about that until this past week when everyone was memeing on the Ravens after that terrible Wednesday game, and I was like, "Oh wow, the Browns are finally doing good." Like Stefanski's got that team playing well. They finally got Nick Chubb back, so they've got two good running backs out there.
LBJ is done for the year, so the toxicity is out of that locker room.
Yeah,
I've watched a couple of games here and there. They look actually really good.
Yeah.
Again, this goes Baker's
looking better.
Yeah, he looked terrible to start the year, and if you had told me that Baker was gonna look get any better, I'd been like,
honestly,
maybe.
Honestly, it seems like no joke. I would bet that some of the pressure of having OBJ out there and having to feed him to keep him happy, being off of Baker's shoulders, allows him to be more of the natural quarterback and start working on his development again.
Yep. There's not much shine for me on the Browns right now. They won by 2 points against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1-10, led by Glennon.
Hey, a win's a win.
Quality of win matters, so that's why I'm saying this point total feels inflated. Because yes, the Titans look great, and I think they're going to play great. If the Browns couldn't stop the Jags, and now you're going to put them against a team that has a similar play style with just better everything.
Yes.
It's like, the Jags have a good running back who can just kind of do it on all fast. That's the only difference. Is
the Titans have the rushing leader.
They just have a rushing leader.
Yeah.
Who doesn't catch the ball as much as Robinson. But it's going to be pound the rock. You've got quality wide receivers. You got way better wide receivers. Hopefully A.J. Brown's hip is not an issue for him this week. But like I said, it's just a wholesale upgrade, especially at defense. And I don't think the Browns are ready for it. And based on last week, I just think they're gonna get fed their lunch. They're gonna get pushed into toilets. They're getting swirlies. It's gonna be an ugly matchup.
I think Jarvis Landry's gonna have a great day.
Like I said, you put it on the other side of the ball. I'm all in on the Titans. As far as fantasy-wise, the Browns, there's plenty of options there. Just because there's quality things out there. I'm not starting Baker. Landry is fine. Chubb and Kareem, obviously, are getting their play.
Hooper's in play this week.
Hooper's in play because he's a tight end.
Yes. I mean, he's honestly a better option at tight end than a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Hooper's been slowly playing his way into that contract. I mean, he's not great, obviously, but he's turned in enough quality weeks at this point where it's either he's getting there on volume or he's getting there on a touchdown where I'm okay streaming him. Like, I'm not happy, but okay. I think this one's definitely going to be fun to watch for fantasy. I mean, the Titans are always fun to watch. A.J. Brown is a monster among men. So is Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry's a bad man.
Can you imagine who was it? Mike Mularkey that was the coach when he got drafted. Can you imagine being the coaches? Because I believe they had at least two coaches of the Tennessee Titans, multiple regimes who chose to sit Derrick Henry for people like DeMarco Murray and Dion Lewis. Like, how is this man that is on the field the same man that was unable to beat out Dion Lewis for the starting job? Like, were they just scared of him? Were they afraid that if they put him in the game, it was going to be too unfair for the other teams, so they didn't?
It's like...
Does he make the rest of the Titans feel bad because he's so much bigger than them?
Well, I think whoever was there was just kind of living in the past where that DeMarco Murray of Cowboys fame.
DeMarco Murray, I at least understand. He was at least a good running back at one point. How did Dion Lewis ever start over him?
No, yes, DeMarco Murray was great. But here's the problem. Running back and quarterback are not the same position. You don't need to bring a veteran in to start over your rookie to show him how to play. Take ball, run ball forward really hard.
I mean, we're watching not DeMarco Murray. We're watching Derrick Henry potentially, like, he's in the lead right now. He's running his way to being the back-to-back rushing champion. It blows my mind that there was ever a point where we were like, man, Derrick Henry, wouldn't it be cool if he could get on the field? Like, I can't believe he was ever getting the Aaron Jones treatment.
I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
It makes me think, what could Bishop Sankey could have been?
Yeah, no. Bishop Sankey was nothing. Derrick Henry is love. Derrick Henry is life. New Orleans Saints, Atlanta Falcons, back down to a mediocre total, 45 points. Falcons are only 2.5 home favorites. I honestly, this one doesn't really do anything for me. I waxed poetically on our wrap-up show for Week 12 about how much I hate this iteration of the Saints. Like, this is like the Peter Capaldi Who episodes. Like, I just want them to go away. They aren't good. So it's like, it's not fun for fantasy to watch these Saints. It's not fun for football. And the Falcons are probably going to be missing Julio this week, it sounds like. So, skip.
Yeah, I mean, this should have been a match to salivate over, and it still feels like a low total, but I guess when Taysom Hill lets his dad, he's got to have something on the coaching staff. Like,
he's like the Jon Snow of the Saints. He is Sean Payton's bastard son. He's just out there. Sean Payton's like, yes, Breeze is gone. I can finally start him. No, it doesn't matter that you can't throw.
It bothers me to no end.
I hate him a lot.
I hope the Falcons win.
Oh, it'd be great.
Just
I hope the Falcons are up so much at halftime that Jameis Winston has to come in. Saints, you're starting Michael Thomas, and that's about it, right? Alvin Kamara, obviously, because you have to, and probably Latavius Murray because he's been the better running back over the last 2 weeks. Outside of the obvious names, though, are you taking a chance on Jared Cook or Emmanuel Sanders this week? I'm not.
Nope.
I'm starting the people. I'm just starting the two obvious ones that you hope that get the rebound, and I'm starting Latavius Murray just because he's getting the quality runs. Like
Latavius Murray.
It makes no sense to me.
Murray.
How is it that Taysom Hill comes in we're just gonna take all of Alvin Kamara's carries? The guy who we see every offseason doing acrobatic catching things on a safety ball. or like how good his hand-eye coordination is. Like, no, this quarterback, he's getting all this work.
Falcons, anyone sneakier starting? For me, it's just Russell Gage, and that's if Julio doesn't play.
Yeah, I mean, he gets targets. You hope the target's a little bit better than what he's been getting, but he's at least getting, 7 targets-ish, 6. And that's good enough for me in this matchup.
Okay. Jaguars, Vikings are the next one on the slate here. This is another pretty big spread. Vikings are 10.5 home favorites. 51-point over-under. Another pretty straightforward. I think this one's a great start for, especially with a banged up Dalvin. Dalvin's going to play this week. Wouldn't surprise me if they take some of the load off of him. They don't really need him to beat the Jaguars, or I hope not at least. I think you can see a good mix of Thielen and Jefferson in this one. Cousins is a locked-in streaming. He's my favorite quarterback streaming option this week. Other side of the ball, James Robinson's in play. DJ Chark, if he plays, is in play, and that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I think you start the obvious ones in this one, and you don't really touch anyone else because, these might be the two simplest offenses in the NFL. Like, you know exactly who to start, and there is no value to be found past those players.
Yep.
Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans, another high total, 50.5 points. Texans are 3.5 home favorites in this one. I like this one just because. I think the total's a little high. Yeah, I think this total is not really factoring in the fact that Will Fuller will not be there for this game.
Yeah, and just to clarify, you mean the Colts are a 3.5 road favorite?
Sorry, yes, I did read that backwards.
Yeah, just to make sure anyone wasn't looking at the screen like, wow, those odds changed from 3 to...
No, you are correct. I did, in fact, read those backwards. The Colts are the road favorites in that one. Obviously, this is going to be their first game without Fuller. I think we can pretty easily divine where the targets are going to go for some of them, at least. I mean, Cooks was already vying for that number 1 slot as it was. Fuller, right before he exited the NFL, was the guy who blew up on Thanksgiving. But before that, Cook was sort of superseding him as the one on the team, as we kind of all expected on a target and snap count basis. That should continue. Unfortunately, it's against the Colts, who are a very good defense. You're still starting Cooks in this one, that being said, because the volume is too good to not start him. Who else on the Texans are you starting? It's okay if you say no one, because I think the answer is no one in this one. I don't want him, not Deshaun Watson, not any of their secondary receivers, certainly not their tight ends.
If we were talking about this in week 12, week 10, 11, somewhere in there, and if this wasn't bubble week, if this wasn't literally the last game of the regular season, and the make it or break it for
it's not cutting time.
I am not rolling the dice on a very fluky downfield receiver that we don't even know who it's going to be yet against the Colts. The Colts have just played too well. I'm not going to gamble on anything that isn't Cooks.
Colts side of the ball. So we're all in agreement on the Texans side of the ball. It's Cooks and nothing, correct?
Yeah.
Colts side of the ball. Obviously, you're starting Jonathan Taylor, who is now off the COVID list. Before he went onto the COVID list, he got 22 carries against the Green Bay Packers. There's no reason to expect that won't continue this week.
Especially with what Derrick Henry did.
You say no reason to expect it, but Frank Reich does hate you especially for your love of Taylor. Like,
yes, he does.
He's just like, let's give him a sample. He gave you 22 carries. You're all back on the bus, and he's just gonna rip the brake. He's like, Nyheim Hines season, or
no.
Wilkins.
I mean, Hines and Wilkins both did not look good last week. Hines was fine through the air, but Jonathan Taylor is still, between the two of them, the better. Jonathan Taylor is actually the best receiver out of the backfield out of all running backs this season. He is. It's admittedly a smaller sample size because he's been splitting work with Hines, so he hasn't been getting but like on a I believe it's yards per catch rate basis, no one is beating Taylor. And he's making people miss. He looks like the running back that they drafted when they're throwing the ball to him, not running it with him. Hines didn't look good last week. Wilkins didn't look good last week. I am starting Taylor with confidence just because the last time we saw him, he played very well. and no one played well enough last week to make me believe that Frank Reich is going to change his mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's my logic going this one, that I think I'm starting Taylor with confidence. If you need a flex running back, I'm fine with Hines. Just because Reich could just it could just be a Hines
and
day.
he is still going to get passing volume.
Right.
Like, regardless of what happens, Hines is going to get his probably at least 4 or 5 targets in the passing game. He's going to pull most of those in because that's what Nyheim Hines does.
Yep.
So, like, especially if you're in full PPR, that's 5 points right there. So I'm with you there. I think Hines is still worth a flex. Jordan Wilkins needs to be dropped in all formats and never touched again. Are you starting any wide receivers from the Colts in this one?
Maybe Michael Pittman. That's pretty much it.
Now, why Pittman?
That's if T.Y.'s still injured.
He is not.
Then
T.Y. played last week.
Then T.Y.
He actually played very well last week, too. Only 5 targets, 4 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was someone I went to on just a cheapo lineup that I was throwing together, and he just kind of ended up fitting. And I was like, yeah, I could maybe Ty finally helps his grandma out and shows him a little of the old Ty.
Man, I did not realize that. Pittman got 9 targets last week and caught 2 of them. I wasn't watching this game, so I don't know the quality of those. I don't know if that's on Rivers or Pittman, but woof.
Yeah, Rivers. He was
he airmailing him?
He was limping, and they kept him in the game still, and I was very confused by that.
Just put the brisket in.
I mean, I think it could just be that he's not a mobile quarterback, so if he can at least stand back there, deal with the pain, and take those like limp hits that quarterbacks will take after they throw.
Yeah.
Where the guy's just going forward, so he's going to hit you anyways. I think his injury, for me, it drops the wide receivers. I'm not too interested in them. I am more interested in his running back. I think Hines and Taylor should be in for a good chunk of targets just because he's going to be checking it down. Like, his hip is still bothering him. He's not going to want to take hits. He's going to want to do screens.
I mean, we've known for Rivers is an old dog. We know what he does. Rivers throws to his running backs. Like, Hines got 10 targets last week. He caught 8 of them. I do think you can pencil that in again. I agree with Frankie. I am willing to start Pittman in this one. Especially, I wasn't aware that he got, because like I said, I wasn't watching that game and I just really didn't look too much into it afterwards. I wasn't aware he got 9 targets. If he's getting that kind of target volume, 2 games out of 3 with high target volume, in the third game he was at least getting targeted downfield. He was able to turn it to fantasy success. Yeah, I'm rolling dice on Pittman. We've seen enough rookies pop off this year, and Pittman was one of the ones that was pretty highly touted coming into the year. This could be his breakout party, We could be seeing it, and it's
very timely.
Enough. Yeah, like he's not going to break out like some of the other ones have, but he's getting the volume to succeed. If he keeps getting that, it's sort of the same argument as Cooks. You got to follow the targets. 9's a lot.
Now, speaking of targets, and a guy who's been on the upswing, and once again, we know Rivers likes his tight ends. Are you rolling Trey Burton out there?
No.
He got 6 targets last week, 5 targets the week before that. He has back-to-back games with touchdowns.
So I shouldn't just say outright no, but probably no. There is still 4 healthy tight ends in Indianapolis and 3 that regularly see the field. I'm not going to, especially with it being week 13, unless I have no other options. I am not trusting Trey Burton, knowing that this could just be a Mo Alley Cox week. Next game on the slate is a boring one, 44.5 points. Bears are 3-point favorites in this one against the Detroit Lions, who may again be without Kenny Golladay. It seems like they might be they might be holding him out another week to give him extra time to heal. I'm sitting on my Lions in this one. The Bears' defense is just too good. The Lions' offense isn't that good. They're in the midst of a coaching change, and they're without their star receiver. I'm not starting. Actually, I'll start T.J. Hawkinson.
Yep, same camp. Bears side of the ball. I mean, I'm comfortable with Monty considering what teams have done to the Lions as of late.
Sure. And hey, Montgomery found the end zone twice last week. Everything else was terrible, but Like, he was not running well, but he still found the end zone.
I'm probably gonna. I would probably start Allen Robinson too, just because of volume and.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the Lions,
on the Bears, you're starting Dave Montgomery, you're starting Allen Robinson. You always start those guys,
and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, this one is a boring one in real life and fantasy. Like, yeah, I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much to dig into here. You want to avoid this matchup as much as you can. The next one, however, should be much better for scoring in both NFL and fantasy. 47-point total, 10-point favorites the Seahawks are. The Giants aren't very good. James Bradbury is pretty good, but he's going to be on DK Metcalf, who's pretty better. So I'm not really worried about him.
DK Metcalf last week was just...
DK Metcalf every week.
But he had having Slay on him, and he still got 197 yards.
Yeah, that's what I said. DK Metcalf every week.
Yeah.
It's just...
He's a very, very good receiver.
This feels like the previous matchup, just a better offense that I actually care about.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, for me, this is a very simple one. You start the Seahawks, that makes sense. You don't start the Giants.
You start Evan Ingram again.
I was going to say, I'm starting Evan Ingram.
All right. Tight end is a way to sneak in. You can basically sneak in anyone's tight end if they're getting some form of targets.
Hey, but how about Dan Harbaugh?
I would say Evan Ingram is probably the best receiver on that team, talent-wise.
Yeah, he's also a tight end that gets targets. So he could be getting the third most targets. If he's just getting targets and he's a tight end, I'm probably interested.
Yeah. This is one where
this is pretty cut and dry.
Honestly, I say that DK is better than James Bradbury, but James Bradbury is a very good cornerback. Wouldn't shock me if this is a lock-it week.
Are you starting any Giants running backs?
No. Next question.
Okay, fair enough.
I have a very simple formula for do I want to start this running back, and that is, are they favored? Yes or no. Are they at home? Yes or no. Do they have a good offensive line? Yes or no. Do they have a good pace of play? Yes or no. The Giants fail all 4 of those questions. All of those are no's. So you know what? I think I'll roll the dice somewhere else.
Did Daniel Jones practice today?
No.
Then yes, no. There is no shares of Giants running backs.
Yeah.
Next matchup.
I do not want anything to do with that team if I can avoid it. Los Angeles Rams, Arizona Cardinals, on the other hand, are some teams that I do want something to do with. I want a lot of something to do with these teams. 48-point over-under in this one. The Cardinals are 2.5-point home favorite, or home dogs in this one. I keep seeing the plus. My brain's like, plus, good, favorites. I think this one could be very good actual football, and for the Rams, very good for fantasy. I'm glad that Kyler's looking healthy, because Kyler has looked hampered the last couple weeks with that shoulder, but the Rams are playing really well on defense. So while I am excited for Kyler and his return to healthiness, and I think that you can comfortably start him and DeAndre Hopkins, the line sort of stops there. I don't want to start either Cardinals running back this week. I mean, I know they just had good weeks against the New England Patriots, but everyone gets one.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Patriots. They're not even anywhere close to the Rams defense this year.
And Bill has never cared about stopping the running back.
Right. He will give you 5 yards a carry all day, so you can just waste the clock and then take it from you later.
Bill's like, please run against me. That's what I want. Yeah, I guess I'll roll. So it's easy to say that we're not going to start either of them, but let's be real people in real life fantasy here, where we're not just operating with this magical roster where we have everyone on our team.
Real life fantasy? Is that a...
People who are Kenyon Drake managers or Chase Edmonds managers might not have the luxury of sitting them with how shallow running back is. Let's say you have both of them, like someone in our league does. Which one are you starting? If you have to start one of them, which one are you starting?
I'm probably going with Drake, just because, I mean, he's the recent hot hand, so...
It's like such a hard question to answer, right?
I'm going with the recent hot hand that got touchdowns last week, so I'm just going to... That's it. That's my only logic. There's nothing else other than that. It's not any deeper. It's very surface level.
I'm going the opposite way. I'm gonna stick with my guns. I've been anti-Drake for a long time. Since I drafted him in the 4th round like 2 years ago when I wanted to believe the hype, even though I wasn't super in. I'm going Chase Edmonds on this one just because I feel like he has slowly been taking this job away from Drake, and we can just see Drake just poop his pants again and go right back to the bench and be what he's been all season.
I will say, although Drake was nowhere near, or Edmonds was nowhere near Drake in carries last week, Drake had 22, Edmonds had 6. Edmonds was the far better running back if you look at yards per carry. And he also, I believe, he had 5 targets, 4 catches to Kenyon Drake's 4 targets, 3 catches. So Kenyon Drake only outscored him so much last week because Kenyon Drake got all the touchdowns. Like 22 carries, 78 yards. Drake did nothing with them. If he didn't find his way into the end zone twice, it would have been a disappointing week.
See,
so and the Rams are much better against the running back than the Patriots. I agree. I'm starting the guy with more passing upside in this one. I could see Edmonds, getting the ball out of the backfield a couple times, maybe finding his way into the end zone. I think he has the better touchdown upside in this matchup. I don't want a guy who can only run for 3.5 yards a carry against the Patriots against the Rams. Rams side of the ball, on the other hand, there are some tough decisions to make. You're starting Woods, you're starting Kupp. Are you streaming Goff in this one? People have been able to score on the Cardinals. It's a good matchup. Goff has shown the ability to play.
Kirk Cousins is probably out there. I'm taking him.
I mean, they're 30th against the pass. I'm looking at it on DraftKings right now. The Cardinals have 2 teams in the NFL that are worse than them at allowing fantasy points to quarterbacks.
What is it, Seattle and...
I don't have the list in front of me. I'm just looking at... looking specific.
Just going off the top here. Seattle and Miami. Miami's gotten better, but still, Seattle should have been a juicy matchup. Dud. San Fran.
Well, to be fair, Goff was doing very well against Seattle. He just didn't get the touchdowns. He got the yardage, which the opportunity was there. They just also were having running success against them, so they just punched in a couple times. So I don't hold Seattle against Goff. Goff didn't throw that game away like he did last week. He was throwing often and well enough to get the job done. It just didn't amount to fantasy success.
He also put up this is going back a bit, but he put up a dud against the Giants. He just put up a dud against San Fran, who, it wasn't just that, San Fran's a solid defense, but they are so banged up, you should be able to perform against them with your defense. I think the other big thing with Seattle, I think you could see another Seattle game, just because I could see a lot of turnovers coming from Arizona, giving you short yardage fields, pick sixes, stuff that eats into your quarterback's work.
So the reason I don't think that you could see another Seattle game is based on the fact that Arizona is much better against the run than Seattle is. Arizona, according to DraftKings, 5th best at allowing fantasy points to opposing running backs.
Also, you bring up the dud against the Giants, but the Giants are actually 3rd against the pass this season.
Yeah, the Giants have actually been very good at stopping fantasy quarterbacks. It's mostly through the running game that people have been scoring against the Giants. The Giants have just been really bad, so you don't really have to do much against them.
It's just one of those things. It's the same reason I was spooked by Carr last week. The matchup says yay, but Goff himself says nay. I will try and find another way.
Fair. So for me, I'm sort of with you, with the caveat that I don't mind starting Goff if you don't have a better option. I think that I will try and find another streamer over Goff this week, but Goff is fine if you don't have anything better. Running back, what are you doing with the Rams? Obviously, Malcolm Brown's dead to us. Darrell Henderson is turning back into a pumpkin. It seems like Cam Akers is taking over the job. But it is still very much just kind of a wonky split over there. Are we just sitting all these running backs till further notice? Better luck in 2021?
I would say typically it's Cam Akers season, but
because this is a situation where I think that you are generally not in a position where you have to start any of these guys. This isn't like Kenyon Drake where you used a high pick on him or you've been relying on him for parts of the season, like Chase Edmonds when Kenyon Drake was down with the injury. You very well you probably are in a position where you don't start any of these guys because they were all very low draft capital or not drafted at all.
Yeah, if you don't so basically, if you have to start one of these guys, I'm just leaning Cam Akers, but I don't know what you can even expect from him because
no, I'm in the same boat.
The Cardinals are 5th against the run this season.
It's Cam Akers or bust.
Yeah,
and I'm leaning towards just none of them.
If you don't start them, I start none of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Okay. Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay Packers. 48.5 point over under. Packers are 8.5 point favorites. I'm sitting all of my Eagles. Easy.
Yep.
Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. I'm starting Miles Sanders.
Yeah. He was terrible last week. The Eagles were terrible last week.
And the Eagles also haven't been using Sanders well, but you can run against the Packers. I'm not really the matchup is too good and Sanders is too good. If Miles Sanders doesn't play well again, or if Miles Sanders gets 50% of the snaps again like he did last week, and they just they aren't just running him, there's not running him out there for whatever reason. Miles Sanders isn't going to burn you this week. If anyone burns you, it's Doug Peterson. Yeah. Packers, you're starting everyone. You're starting Rodgers. You're starting Jones. You're starting Devontae. You're probably starting
everyone.
Allen Lazard this week. Tanyan's a fine start. I think I draw the line at MVS.
The Eagles did not look good last week.
Yeah, I draw the line at MVS. Everyone Lazard, Adams, even Jamal Williams. If you're hunting for a running back, sorry, I could see him falling into the end zone in this one. Patriots Chargers. This is another pretty straightforward one. Thanks to how the Patriots have been playing so far this season, and to their credit, they've looked like a decent NFL team. They've lost a couple close ones they probably should have won. They've won a couple close ones they probably should have lost. So their record's probably about what it should be. But there's no one on that team I want to start this week. Literally no one.
It's if you own any Patriots in fantasy, it's a Bill Belichick offense. You don't know who's going to get the volume. You don't know who's going to get.
Well, no, but that's a misconception about the Patriots. You regularly actually are able to tell in a Belichick offense who's going to get the volume. It's just that Belichick doesn't run a fantasy-friendly system. That's the issue. Yeah. Belichick doesn't care about your fantasy team. He is not going to, run up the score unless he has an opportunity to, and it's funny. But the times that he runs the score up and plays super fast is so low that it's he's not taking those shots down the field. He's not rostering a Devontae Adams or a DeAndre Hopkins or Julio Jones. He likes small ball and he plays money ball over there, but in football. So it's they win with defense and smart play, and that's not sexy for fantasy.
Yeah, I think the only person that I might be comfortable starting here is Harris, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think you have to start Harris because he's a running back and he's been doing well.
Yeah, and granted he put up we'll call it a dud last week, but again, Cardinals are 5th ranked against the run, so you have to take that in a vacuum. And
the defense was playing well last week.
Yeah, honestly he's the only part of
the offense put up a dud last week.
Yeah, for me, like I said, this is another easy one for me. I'm just Damian Harris walking away from the Patriots side of the ball.
Chargers, I'm starting Keenan Allen, even though he gets Stephon Gilmore this week. He's getting too much usage from Justin Herbert to not play him. I'm fine rolling Mike Williams out there if you have to. Man, I'm terrible with names today.
Mike Evans on the bye.
I am terrible with names today.
But
no, I'm fine with both their wide receivers. Hunter Henry once again, tight end, play him. Austin Eckler looked awesome last week. He stepped right back into it. As we just discussed earlier, the Patriots aren't particularly scary against the run. Austin Eckler can also do it through the air. He's going to have success this week. He's probably my favorite play on the Chargers. Honestly, I'm not thrilled about streaming Herbert this week, but I will if you have to.
Yeah, I'm all in the same camp with pretty much all that. I think that Mike Williams is more attractive to me because Keenan Allen is going to have Gilmore on him.
But Keenan Allen gets so many more targets that I don't care that Evans isn't going to have, or he said Evans again, that Williams isn't going to have Gilmore.
Oh no, I like them. I like them both. But personally, I'm not.
You were just saying that you see he's more attractive to you, so that implies
that because he's on my team.
Honestly, just a kind of a minor warning because we know Belichick so much better. If I have Herbert and if I can get a quality streaming option, maybe if I can get Kirk or something like that, I honestly might bench him this week just because the Patriots are amazing against rookie quarterbacks. Like,
Yeah, what's Belichick's record? Like 22-2 against rookie quarterbacks?
I don't know if he lost.
I'm gonna look that up.
I think like first round quarterbacks, his record against them, and he has maybe one, maybe two losses. I'd be surprised, but he is phenomenal against rookies.
Belichick's record against rookies is 19-5.
Yeah, he just knows how to play against them. He knows how to exploit their weaknesses, and like they have not like they're still getting used to the NFL. And if there's anyone who knows how to take advantage of a weakness, it's him. So I think Herbert will still find a way to win this one, but I think it's going to be ugly for his stat line.
I would actually say that I think Anthony Lynn is going to find a way to lose this one because that's basically what he's been doing for the Chargers all season. That man is I'm sorry. I thought I liked Anthony Lynn as a coach, but like, and he's okay for fantasy.
There are some weird play calls that I saw last week.
Yeah, he is actively going out of his way to find ways for the Chargers to lose. Like they can do better than Anthony Lynn. All right, let's jump to some other NFC or AFC West teams. Sunday night game, Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, 50.5 point total. The Chiefs are 13.5 point favorites down there at Arrowhead. That seems very high because I don't see the Broncos scoring.
I think the Chiefs are gonna. I think Pat Mahomes is throwing 7 touchdowns here. It's gonna be.
I don't think he's throwing 7 touchdowns because I think they're going to be up 28-0 at halftime, and they aren't going to have to keep throwing.
But Andy Reid's gonna try and run it up.
I think that is running it up right there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this one is probably one of the easiest slates I think to break down.
There's a lot of studs versus duds on this slate. There's a lot of just absolute wagons going up against like a garbage can with a poorly secured lid.
I'm sitting pretty much all my Broncos. Noah Fant is a tight end, so we're starting him.
Honestly, Noah Fant's probably my favorite start on the team.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, that's
just relative to position.
Especially if Lindsey is not gonna play, that's pretty much it for the Broncos side of the ball. KC, I'm starting the obvious, and that's
I mean, if I have the opportunity to this week, I'm starting an injured Josh Jacobs over Melvin Gordon. I don't want none of that. Melvin Gordon looks fine, but like he gets so few opportunities on that team because the Broncos apparently forgot how to move the ball forward that it's like I don't care how good Melvin Gordon looks on 7 carries because that's all they can afford to give him throughout a game. Like, I just don't love the situation out there in Denver. That is a team that needs a quarterback more than anything in the world.
Do we need to go more into this one?
No. Pittsburgh's another one we don't have to go into. Cool. Pittsburgh Steelers, Washington football team, 42 point total. Jesus, that's low.
I mean, I think it's going to be pretty much all Steelers.
Yeah, the Washington football team is going on the road to face the Steelers. They're 8.5 point favorites. You start Terry in this one. Honestly, I don't start Washington running backs in this one.
Even with how Gibson's looked?
I don't care. It's the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those things where you might have to, but if I'm starting Gibson, I am not looking up for anything just because he's been very touchdown reliant. Like, he's been getting the touchdowns, so it's good that he's getting points, but it's going to be hard to get one, seeing as how the Steelers are very, very good against the run.
Well, and it's
the only way that people can attack them is through the air. So I think this is just if they want to get any momentum and try and pull themselves back into the hot race that is the NFC East, they're going to need to use Terry and.
I think this could be a McKissick week. They're going to be throwing a lot. They're going to need to dump it off to the running back because that's how Alex Smith likes to play. You could see McKissick get a massive target load this week. So if I have to pick a Washington running back, I'm picking him.
Yeah, it's.
I don't want to rely on Gibson falling into the end zone because that's unlikely to happen against the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I think that it's good. Like pass catching backs against the Steelers this season in particular have done better. I mean, the ground and pound.
They've still done poorly, but they've done better than the guys who don't catch the ball.
Well, it's like the ground and pound just doesn't work on the Steelers.
Right. Buffalo Bills, San Francisco 49ers. 47-point total in this one. The Niners are 1-point home dogs. I want to like some Bills in this one, but I ultimately don't. I think the 49ers defense is looking better. They've gotten some key players back.
Yeah.
Allen is still Josh Allen. We've seen him be mistake prone recently. I'm streaming over Allen this week if I can.
Honestly,
I think the only person I'm starting is Diggs, and that's hesitantly.
Yeah.
Actually, and Beasley. I'd start Beasley this week. Because Beasley is just one of those guys where Beasley is always in flex consideration for me pretty much when he's the number 2. Because would you be surprised if at the end of the week Beasley has 5 targets, 4 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown?
And he's throwing touchdowns.
Yeah. But honestly, we because that's just like the ever-present Beasley threat. Is Beasley's going to get at least 5 targets. He's going to catch at least 4 of them. And there's a good chance that he's just happens to be in the end zone for one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, this one is an okay total. The Bills aren't barely favored against the Niners, who have been decimated.
It's because they've been playing really well. They're very well coached. They have a lot of talent in that defense. They're getting Debo and Brandon Ayook back.
Yeah, that's huge.
So that's what I'm saying is for this matchup, I'm starting literally I'm just gonna start Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
On the Bills side, and that's it. I don't want to try and gamble. Once again, week 13, I'm not gambling on Beasley unless I really need to. Cause
I think if there's a gamble to make, it's Beasley. I think Beasley is one of the safer gambles this week. He is still a gamble.
Right. He goes in the gamble pile. He gets to sit on the top of that pile.
Yes. 49ers side of the ball. You starting Debo's first week back?
Nope, not first week back in this week.
But the Bills haven't been a good defense.
I'm starting Ayook.
I just don't. Once again, he goes in the gamble. He's a gamble because I don't know how healthy he is. I don't know how good. I don't know what this system looks like now that he's back. I hope he's there. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and gets you 12 points.
Sure.
It's the Bills. They still have some solid play on D, and it's just I don't want to trust it this week. This one, I would rather go with a safer guy who has a little bit lower of a ceiling.
And then our last matchup on the slate, once again a Tuesday game. Baltimore Ravens, Dallas Cowboys. Ravens are 7.5 home favorites. There is no total for this one. The Ravens still have half their team on the COVID list. The Cowboys still have half their team being bad. Actually, I'm sorry, they have their whole team being bad. We just saw this Ravens defense in a tough matchup against Pittsburgh stand up pretty well. They've been one of the top defenses this season. I hate to run this line out there again, but you know the drill with this one. You don't start Cowboys against the Ravens defense.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Now, with how he looked against the vaunted Steelers defense, do you run RG3 against the...
No, RG3 got benched.
Good against Steelers. This is the Cowboys.
Did he?
I mean, he got benched.
He got benched.
Trey Sorley, for anybody who forgot his name, was out there. Or Mick Sorley? I don't know. It's one of the two.
No, it's Trace.
Well, no, Mick Sorley. Trace McSorley. There we go. 2 for 6 passing last week.
I'm not starting any Cowboys in this one. I guess Zeke, because you probably have to start Zeke. But I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, granted, I don't like the league. This is a very short bench league with only 2 wide receiver slots. I have Zeke in that league. Basically, I just kind of fell into the Cowboys. And I was like, oh, great, I just have every piece of a high-powered offense. And then Dak went away and they forgot how to football. So now I am sitting Zeke this week.
Ravens side of the ball, I'm starting everyone who's healthy. If Mark Andrews makes it back from COVID for this week, starting him. Lamar Jackson makes it back from COVID, starting him. Hollywood's out there, starting him. Whatever Baltimore running back is available to me this week, I'm starting. I'm hoping it's J.K. Dobbins.
Me too.
It's Mark Ingram.
It's not going to be Mark Ingram. It's going to be Gus Bus or J.K. Dobbins.
If it's Mark Ingram.
It's not going to be Mark Ingram.
If COVID hits and it's Mark Ingram.
Then I'm starting Mark Ingram against Dallas if I have to. I still think there's better. I think there's better options than Mark Ingram. But if I have to, I'm fine starting him against Dallas because it's Dallas.
just want to hear the words.
You guys ready to jump to our final segment? Do some money picks and starts of the week.
Let's roll.
Nope.
Frankie, why don't you take us away here? My tablet's still loading.
There we go. Talked about this a little bit earlier. Baker at Tennessee, I like because you can throw on the Titans. And like I said, Baker's been looking better. Jarvis Landry's been looking good.
I do like how diametrically opposed you and Vitaly often are in your takes. You're like, love Baker this week, think he's going to be a great start. Vitaly's like, I would rather kill myself than start Baker.
Other side of the ball. Even if A.J. Brown plays, I still like Corey Davis this week. I think that he has looked what we pretty much expected Corey Davis looked like 3 years ago or whenever he came into the league.
Yes.
Money picks. David Montgomery against the Detroit Lions.
For how much?
$5,500.
What a bargain.
And this is Robert Tonyan at $3,700. We've seen how Aaron Rodgers likes to use his tight end this season, especially on the goal line. R.I.P. Aaron Jones. But I think he's going to get a touchdown in this game. I will put this on the record.
Bold. I don't know what to say.
How confident do you feel about that, Frankie?
Circle back to me.
Given that I was just gonna give him some crow, if you don't mind me taking this one.
No, yeah, go ahead. A
real bargain.
No, go ahead.
So my starts are whatever Miami quarterback against Cincy.
Sure.
I don't care. I'd rather it be Fitzpatrick, but it could be Tua. But gives you the upside on the ground, so he gives you a little bit of a safer floor.
Yep.
Since he's bad, they don't have a quarterback. I think either one is a fine start. That defense should be handing the ball back to their quarterback over and over again on games.
Sure.
My other start, provided he plays, is Chark against Minnesota. I think this game is both teams just trying to figure out who can play less defense.
Yes. Do you want to set a pivot down now in case Chark doesn't play, or do you want to wait for that?
I'm still flip-flopping on that one.
Okay.
But my monies, I got Mike Glennon versus Minnesota for 48 because I went and checked. I was thinking about going Teal Steele, who is the more expensive quarterback this week, but the coach has already confirmed he's riding Pine this week. So $4,800 for a starting quarterback, you can get some hogs on your team with that price.
No, I do really, especially against Minnesota, really like that for a guy who probably won't get you negative points.
Right, and he came out against a Cleveland team that had played well in defense, and he was able to hang 202 touchdowns. Like, that's respectable against a solid defense. Now he gets one of the worst defenses.
Yes. So
he should be able to pay you back in that easily. My other money, Chris Carson against the Giants. It's where you beat them. On the ground.
And 63 is good for a starting running back,
Right.
especially on a team as good as the
Like I said, if you're trying to find that second tier running back who still gets usage and is not going to kill your wallet and DK, I think Chris Carson's a great play, and I feel like people are sleeping on him because he's been away.
Yeah, I consider putting him as one of my money picks this week.
I am going to go, I'll start with my money picks actually, because I am going for a running back who will kill your wallet if you put him in your lineup, but it doesn't matter because he's going to score you so many goddamn points. Nick Chubb versus Tennessee. He went off last week. I told you Nick Chubb was great. Nick Chubb went and did great things. I love Nick Chubb. He's going to do the same great things against Tennessee, maybe even more great things. Who knows? And his price barely went up. He was great last week, and his price barely changed. So you know what? Plug him in again. He's still too cheap. Simple formula. And Kareem Hunt's hurt. He's probably going to play, but Kareem Hunt's banged up. So I don't see why you would ever shy away from Chubb in this one. The offense flows through him. He would be competing with Derrick Henry right now for rushing leader if he hadn't missed all those games. I firmly believe that. And like I said, you're still getting a bargain because this is his second week back from injury, and they still have yet to correctly price him. My other money pick this week: T. Higgins versus Miami. 5 targets, 5 catches. He turned in, I believe, 44 and a touchdown last week. Not great, but that was his first week with the new quarterback. He was still getting roughly the same volume he was getting before. Unlike Boyd, he converted all of his targets into catches. He was getting the down-the-field catches. He got the red zone look. It's the red zone look because I was following the game cast on that one. They didn't get me. And that was the case beforehand too. So that's clearly part of the Bengals' game plan is that Higgins is their primary red zone guy. In an offense where they can only support one receiver, I want the guy who has the best upside to get the touchdowns. Clearly Higgins, 4,600 is a great deal for what he could return for your team. And then my starts are, talked about earlier, Jonathan Taylor versus Houston. He should be in a spot to hit this week. Houston's really bad. They don't play defense, and Taylor was really good, and then he got COVID. He didn't even get COVID. He just was near someone who had COVID, but now he's clear. There's literally no reason he shouldn't go off this week, so of course he's going to get 4 carries for 3 yards this week. But I'm sticking by it. I'm starting Taylor in all formats. Everywhere I have him, I'm grabbing him. He was almost a money pick for me because he's 5,700 in DraftKings. I mean, this guy is awesome in redraft, awesome in DK for what you have to pay. I mean, he's 200 more than David Montgomery. Like, who would you rather have?
David Montgomery.
I think he is a smash pick this week. And then I talked about a little bit earlier, Kirk Cousins versus Jacksonville. Dalvin Cook's beat up. I doubt they're going to overuse him this week because they don't have to beat Jacksonville. They've got 2 very good receiving, probably the best rookie receiving option on that team. In addition to Thielen, Cousins can throw when it's not a primetime game. This isn't a primetime game, therefore you start Cousins against Jacksonville, who I'm not convinced actually starts 11 guys on defense every play.
Yeah.
Frankie, what are you thinking? How confident are you in Tanyan? You want to jersey bet it?
No, I'm not that confident because
Wuss.
no, the Eagles.
Howard.
For as much flack as I like to give them, I mean, I was getting nervous in my matchup last week because I
Hey, Frankie, all I'm hearing is coward noises.
Frankie, let me pose you a little bit cheaper of a bet. It helps the show. You don't have to give someone directly something. You're giving back to the show if you lose. You have to get a mini helmet of the Packers if he doesn't get a touchdown.
No, you have to get a mini helmet of the Eagles if he doesn't get a touchdown.
Do we want that on our set?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take it. I like Miles Sanders. I like you guys that have been through there. You're a big fan.
You know what? There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. And just one, my flop. If Chark does not play, I'm going against you, and I'm taking Hines versus. Granted, they both could pay. So my backup start is Hines versus Houston.
Sure. I don't like Hines in DraftKings this week because he's almost as expensive as Taylor, but I think as a just in a standard redraft format, especially as PPR, like I said earlier, I agree. He could very well pay off for you, or at least do enough to not hurt you.
Exactly.
Okay, well that'll do it for us this week. Join us next week as we give you our first ever fantasy playoffs wrap up, as well as the fantasy playoffs waiver show. Frankie, I think we're going to skip that today because we are running a little over on time.
Yeah. I think just my last comment for the show is I like how we're wearing all black for the funeral of some fantasy teams.
Yeah, mine.
And a lot of other people.
Man, I have never had... I think this is the most points scored against me I've ever had in fantasy. I'm like close to 1,700 points. It's insane. Like...
I tell you, should we play a tune for Ian in the world's smallest?
That's neither here nor there. As always, we wish you all good luck in your matchups this week. Hopefully, if you're a bubble team and you're playing in, you get into the playoffs. Hopefully, if you're already on the playoff side, you stay in the playoffs. See you guys week 14.